I think it's kind of like having a sheet of ice in front of you and pouring oil on it and then taking your first step.
What?
Sometimes I get the feeling that people are afraid to get into the high end of audio.
It's scary.
Yep.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't know anything about it, I guess this goes for anything. Like, it's a fear of the unknown. Huh?
Yeah, it is.
You don't know anything about any of the brands.
Especially when money's involved.
It's pretty easy to extrapolate, I think, because from the outside, you look in, you see all these weirdos doing weird things, spending all this money. You're like,
weirdos.
I don't know if I want any of that. Because people always argue over petty things.
I guess looking at it.
That would be, I think, a common perception.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at it, if you looked at it, you've never done it before. I guess the stuff would look pretty freaking strange.
Yeah, you've been in it so long that you can't see it from a outside perspective.
Especially like some of the shots you see from like the Munich show just occurred, in what was it, last week, few weeks ago, and you see some of the videos and photographs from some of the crazy speakers these guys come up with, or the gear, or you name it, and it's like, I mean, we're talking Sasquatch and speakers, right? 6 plus 7 foot high,
$500,000 price points.
You're like, whoa. I mean,
even being used to seeing that kind of stuff, when you see all this new weird stuff, it's like alien,
I mean, to some it's cool. It's like cutting edge to them, and it's like can't afford it, but want to hear it.
Yeah.
And to others, it's probably intimidating as hell. Like, don't even want to go that way. Type thing. So,
well, you see it all the time. People always find some extravagant product with a weird price point, and they know nothing about the industry, so they say, well, this is ridiculous. This shouldn't exist, or things like that. But inside the industry, most people are like, I don't know what's up with that. Why is this guy? Because it's trying to serve such a small market. There's just a handful of products that are just crazy, wild, extreme products. And maybe they don't sell any. Maybe they sell 1 or 2 of them a year. But it's always the kind of like the thing that people put on the poster for why you don't want to get in the HiFi. The $26,000 cable, the $500,000 speakers, this thing that like is like a power conditioner with rocks in it or something.
It's always the worst case scenario.
Right? You find the most extreme, ridiculous
highest
thing.
Contrast to make a point.
Well, that's not realistic.
That's how you put headlines up, You don't put low contrast things out there, but he's like, well, okay.
Yeah, but I guess that's what it is. I think people are, in general, if you're afraid to go that way, it can be intimidating. I think also there's a lot to understand. Like if they for example, if you weren't in audio and you went in and popped in like a headphone, like HiFi.org, right, went to their HiFi forum, you started reading about the crazy things people do, especially in the high-end forum, they'll be like, huh?
People do some weird things.
They bought what? And they did what? And you're like, and then you got to get these cables. And I mean, to people who aren't in the know, it'd be like, I think it would be confused. You would look at it as going, I don't even know where to start.
Well, you kind of get the proportions a little blown out. You don't understand how frequent this stuff is, because it could look like there's all kinds of weirdos doing weird things, but really they're the minority. There's very few people, and overwhelmingly the people that are in the situations where they're buying absurdly expensive things that most outsiders would consider to be extraordinarily overpriced, they're in a position where to them that's exciting, that's interesting. They want to try it. They already did everything else. They could afford it. It's a hobby they're really into. They'll give it a shot, right? So most people don't buy these things. The number of sales that they have for multi-$100,000 speakers, it's trivial. It's almost none.
Yeah.
But it's a statement piece. You show it at a show and people go, ooh, wow, that's cool. Nobody's really buying it, but they sell a few, maybe, if that.
Well, there's another angle. You could be experienced in getting into new hobbies, and you see the rabbit hole, right? And you don't want to even go near it.
Or maybe you've been in another hobby.
That's right.
And you're like,
I don't even want to start looking
deal with it. This looks scary.
Yeah, like we always use cameras. If you got a massive collection of lenses just sitting there and you're looking at $50,000 worth of stuff, and now you use your phone instead. Because it's too much work to pull out the DSLR.
And then trying to change systems after you already are in pot committed into one. It's a little thing
right.
too. You already have all this stuff for this one.
Yeah, I think I want to try that Sony camera. Now they got wait a minute, I got to get
Canon.
Sony lenses. Or
Well-
Leica. Can you imagine you want to get into Leica?
Yeah, well,
Holy shit.
It's like that with anything. If you already have a hobby or potentially several hobbies, another one could be intimidating because when I started this thing with cars, I was buying $4,000 piles of junk on Craigslist, and now here I am buying $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 cars and throwing $100,000 at them. Right. So it's easy to go down those rabbit holes as your funding kind of goes up potentially over time, and you start throwing all your spare dollars at the things you're interested in. And maybe it's scary, intimidating to try to get into audio because maybe it'll go the same way, and I don't need two of these hobbies I can't afford.
well, there is another option. You could just just read about stuff, not actually own any of it. I mean, it's like in like in cars as an example. You read about supercars all the time, and you don't own any. So
right.
But you like reading about them, right?
Well, see, that's like kind of like what to me that's what a show's focus tends to be, which is why you see all the crazy stuff it shows. Is they're putting forward what they think is what they know is their best effort, a company's best effort at making whatever they make, and that's what shows tend to be for, is showing off what they can do, and that's not necessarily their bread and butter though, so you shouldn't be intimidated by that. That's something they're saying, well, this is going crazy and having just unlimited funding. This is what we've done, but we also have $500 bookshelves too. That,
Right.
that sound really good because we've learned from doing this.
Right.
Trickle down. We've taken a lot of the stuff we learned and we could implement some of it in our lower end stuff, which is to them it's almost like showing off their R&D, right? They're showing off their R&D.
What's called the halo effect, right?
Yeah.
It's like Nissan with the GTR. But like apparently they saw a spike in people buying like Altimas and stuff when the GTR came out, because like, well, I can't afford a GTR, but what else do they got? Kind of situation.
Right. Absolutely. The GTR was almost like what they did such a good marketing job with it, like even 2 years prior to the car, that even little kids knew what it was. They probably wanted Matchbox cars or whatever. They wanted
video games.
Yeah, well, that too.
that's-
Yeah, right. And so, you think about the marketing involved with that. Was amazing. To do that level, because I've seen it firsthand. I've seen where all age groups knew about that thing. So, but anyway, we're getting off on topic. The point is that what is the point?
Well, I think that's a bit of it, because especially if you're a small company, if you do an average thing, you make a $500 speaker, who cares? Even if it's good, nobody really looks into it that
Gets
hard.
no attention.
It gets very little attention. You got to pay and pay and pay with advertising and all kinds of sponsors, giving these away to people.
Here I am.
And it's really hard to do. It's really expensive. People
Look
don't
at
see
us.
it.
We got a $500 speaker.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah,
really,
whatever.
it's not that interesting.
So does Walmart.
There's so many of them, right?
Well, maybe not Walmart.
They get lost in the sea.
You make $1 million supercar, you get attention, because how many are out there?
Yep.
Not too many. And maybe you don't sell that many of this particular thing, but if you have a lower model that you actually do sell, it helps promote it by making this cool thing.
Or a speaker that'll do 130 dB volume level in a room.
You can do that with
The
a lot of
loudest
speakers.
speaker on the planet.
Yeah, at 20 hertz.
Okay.
But I guess no one really shoots for that because that'd be loud.
that's a little dangerous.
But,
Yeah.
okay, bass. We want a lot of bass.
But you look on the forums, you see what people actually own. The number of people, at least on forums, that own these $100,000, $500 speaker setups, you never hear from them. It's super rare, right? But you see them at shows everywhere you go. It's always the most expensive stuff. And maybe it gives outsiders a false impression that that's what people are buying. That's what you need. Almost nobody's using it. It's very rare. So it's kind of like there's pros and cons there. It gives you attention, but also can make people a little misled into thinking that that's like what you need or something.
Well, and two, the people who are buying these $500,000 speakers and $100,000 amplifiers to go with it, and running 40 amp, 50 amp, 240 volt dedicated lines just to run the amp, and it just goes on and on, right? You don't really; those people don't really exist in the public forums.
It's more of a lifestyle thing at that point, right?
They're doing it. Yeah, they're doing it as for themselves, and they hire contractors to deal with installation, and the dealers bring the speakers and set it up. It's not. It's beyond the hobby. It's like
well past that,
way beyond that, right?
They buy it because they think it's cool.
Yeah, right.
Or they
For
like
them,
the way
for
it
themselves.
looks.
Yeah.
It fills up this gigantic room that they have nothing in.
And when you have everything, what impresses you at that point? You see what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
And
you're not
you
buying
think
a
about
$500
installation.
Yeah, right.
One off.
Yeah, I'm going to build myself a room.
Yeah.
And it's going to be 30
It's gotta
by
be the
50
best.
with 20 some foot ceilings.
Made out
right?
of concrete.
Made of freaking concrete.
100,000 watts of amplification, because why not?
Mm.
Amps, it doesn't matter. What's the biggest amp
What's
you
the
got?
biggest, most expensive thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes to our building. We that one theoretical video we did
Oh.
where we said we're going to actually build a building outside the
The
home.
building amp, yeah.
2 buildings just to house 2 amplification amps
It's
with
like that.
stacks, like nuclear stacks running them. It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
I think we went there. And then the cables coming in would be crazy big. Like sewer pipe size cables.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. But you see where I'm going. I mean, the people at that level, there are people at that level, and they it's just don't give a shit money. And
Yeah, not
that's
too many
who-
of them though, but they
Yeah.
exist.
But they're all over the world, and that's who these companies are catering to. And and they're after. That's not only the sound necessarily, but the look.
Mainly
yeah.
the look.
They want
yeah.
big shit. They want big toys.
Big numbers too.
Right.
Who doesn't want? It's like, do you need 5 kilowatts? No, but I got it.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, and the meter only like moves this
Yeah,
much.
right.
There's
Oh,
a
boy.
very small percentage of those people, but reason no longer matters at that point.
It's like those Macintosh monoblocks with the meters on the front.
Mm. Oh, the triple stack ones. Yeah, I think they're like 1,500.
On a
watts.
normal listening levels, you barely see
Yeah,
the
just
needle move. But
point.
I've seen it where we played some tracks that, man, you can get those things going on the right speakers,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. I'm like, whoa, where's all that power going?
Well, we were just talking to that one guy at our local dealer the other day, and he said he was at some guy's house with Macintosh monoblocks, like, what were they, 500 watts? And he said that he was like clipping them on his
Jesus.
801s or whatever.
Oh, really?
He's like, I gotta play it this loud to get the bass I want. You
Yeah.
know? And he's like, you're gonna blow these things
Yeah,
out.
right. That's some serious freaking.
Yeah. He's telling the guy, it's like, he's listening to 130 dB. I'm like, you gotta play this quieter. But he wanted to play it really loud.
And hence that's why they make amps that big for people who just want limitless fun. It's almost like,
Well, he told him, he's like, why don't you need some bigger speakers if you want to do that? He's like, no, but I want these.
looks, there's a man that needs some subs,
Yeah, something.
like about 6.
Stacks.
Yeah. 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, 2 in the back.
Not
Should cut
stack them on top of each other.
it. Oh, that too.
like-
the JLs.
Yeah, well, they make a double stacked one.
Yeah, that's a serious sub.
Yeah.
Like 400 or 500 pounds worth of sub.
Yeah,
you,
pretty
you
heavy.
need 4 or 5 of those.
Okay.
That'll do it.
Maybe we should wrap it up.
And a lot of power, like as in wall power. In fact, would that trip a 200 amp breaker, the main breaker in the house if you're running?
No.
Well,
I don't know. If each one,
well, the
run-
JLs now.
yeah, if each one does 20 kilowatts.
You can only draw like 42 continuous at most from a 200 amp
Oh,
residential
really?
service.
42 kW.
Well,
About?
they're not really made for 100% continuous
Well,
load.
not to mention like the line coming into the home probably is going to sag. The voltage is going to sag.
Yeah.
If you start
Most
getting-
likely, you're going to have some poor power quality under that loading.
I know when I've got the steamer in the shower, it's 9 kW. When you turn that button on, you see the lights in the in the bathroom kind of go. That's
You're
9
running
kW.
incandescent light bulbs in there or something?
No, they're quartz.
Wonderful.
That's the only way to get 500 watts of light
Not anymore, it isn't.
spread out across a 6-foot mirror. I know it's a bitch to understand. Anyway,
Okay.
and dim it. Yeah. On that note, I think we did it.
Sure.
We
totally explained it with absolutely no. What's the appropriate word
Well,
here?
there's no direction.
Yeah. Well, there was no direction.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
Nobody would be confused leaving this video except for us.
I think it's kind of like having a sheet of ice in front of you and pouring oil on it and then taking your first step.
What?
But
Yeah.
do you need the oil on ice?
It's got to be really good oil.
Oh.
Well, you don't have to, but I think it just draws a picture where there's a medium in between the ice and you, and it ain't what you need to help you.
Well, I
take
think
that
what we
first
were
step.
going for is it's less intimidating than you think to get into audio. Because if you don't know anything about it, I could see how people be like, this is ridiculous, this whole industry.
Yeah.
But there's ridiculous things in the industry. The whole industry being ridiculous, only partially.
Well, I think the world's full of ridiculousness.
Well, it gets attention.
Sure.
So, unfortunately, it's very effective if you do some weird stuff.
Well, and if you are getting into it, you don't know anything about it, seek professional help.
Well, a lot of people should probably do that.
Thanks everyone for watching. Tee us up. Thank you.